Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some breaking news tonight out of Sandusky, Ohio, where Tony Clark on the Cedar Point blog just dropped two bombshells on us. The first one is that the old Oceania stadium that once had dolphins, once had divers, now has bikers, is going to be demolished during this offseason. The other bombshell is that the Sandcastle Suites at the tip of the peninsula, over by the Magnum's Pretzel turnaround, is also being demolished this offseason. So two big pieces coming off of the Cedar Point Peninsula here, Dwayne, and one has to wonder, why exactly would they take these two pieces out? I've had some theories pretty recently as to why, but what are some of your thoughts here?
Well, it's first off, it's great to be back. I know we've been on a hiatus here, or whatever you want to call it, for a while. But, yeah, we've had a pretty slow beginning to your off season, if you want to call it that. I know the parks are still kind of open, maybe for one weekend left or whatever. But when I got this information from you and then I started reading up on it today because I was a little out of the loop, immediately it comes to mind. It's like, wow, because you think of the things that have gone into the Dolphin Stadium, for example, and of course it's been the all-wheels extreme thing for the past few years. And yeah, you demolish that building, you take out that entertainment venue. What is that for? It automatically screams just with that little area. Are we going to get some type of maybe a spectacular flat ride? You've got Windseeker right there, so you've got already one flat ride, whatever you want to call it there, and put something else there to maybe spruce up that other part of the midway. We always call it the backside midway or whatever.
Yeah.
The Wicked Twister midway. So you could add something there that would maybe even bring more people over to that area. It is a part of the park that really not a lot of people frequent all the time on the other side of the kids area there. So that immediately came to my mind. And then of course I mentioned something to you about the Sandcastle Suites, and I said, is this now the first step of the 2020 project? And I know you said something like 2019 because it was going to be a 2-year thing. So that immediately came to my mind. When you said that, I immediately texted you back and I said, that has to be it. If they're going to take out one of their hotel venues, which remember, we met was all about, the infrastructure, the idea of hotels and these sports complexes and all these different things. And now he's going to take one out. So is this a takeout to put something in regards to a big, huge 2020 ride, or is it something for more lodging, better lodging? Are they taking Sandcastle Suites out, building a brand new hotel complex? Are they adding in new cabins? Are they adding in bigger cabins or expanding the ones that are already there? So all of these things come to mind immediately. And of course, it's way too early to speculate, but hey, guess what? That's what we do best. So that's why we're doing this now. So that's my immediate opinions on that, and I'm sure Andy has a lot more to say on that as well.
Dwayne, let's buckle in here because I got quite a few. I've said for a while that I felt that the old Oceania Stadium was coming out, and I think when we got the T-shirt this year, that if you've seen any of the retro Cedar Point T-shirts this year. They've also made a whole bunch of magnets. Oceania was one of them. And it kind of signaled to me that maybe this stadium was ending, was nearing the end of its useful life here. I've kind of felt that for a while. And on my last trip to Cedar Point that I went there a few weekends ago, I actually took some time and walked around the Wicked Twister Midway. And I said, what could they possibly do here? Because my theory has been, I've posted on Instagram, I've said it here on YouTube before, my theory has been that the big anniversary ride has got to be a wood coaster. It's the one gaping hole in the lineup of Cedar Point. Is now it's Steel Vengeance. There is no viable major wood coaster in that park. And it's been the one knock on Cedar Point that when anyone has ever said, well, they don't have a wood coaster, you kind of just got to throw your hands up in the air and say, yeah, you're right. That Blue Streak is nice, but it's not a major wood coaster. It's really nice. It's one of the better rides in the park, according to me. I love Blue Streak, but it's not a major wood coaster. So I took some time and I looked at the size of the stadium and I looked at the area, and that midway has always been massive, has always been sprawling. More so than any of the other midways that will funnel people into tighter lanes. The Wicked Twister Midway has always been sprawling ever since Wicked Twister was put in there. So I think a wood coaster that maybe harkens back to that old Cedar Point Cyclone that people used to rave about. I don't even know if anyone, has ridden it even that are still enthusiasts. I'm not quite sure. But a lot of people, always talk about the Cedar Point Cyclone. And I really think a wood coaster on the beach that we've heard Rob Decker say this before. This is no mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Decker has come out and said that, hey, I think it was at one of the Coaster Manias we went to, that he'd love to, open up that beach and put a nice, beautiful wood coaster out there. This is no mystery here. And if you take out that stadium, you could easily fit in a wood coaster there. Now, the question is what else do you have to take out? You obviously probably have to take out Tiki Twirl, which for a lot of reports has been having some maintenance issues as of late. It was running the last time I was there, but I know it's been down quite a bit, over this season, over last season. So maybe Tiki Twirl, the old Calypso, is nearing the end of its life. I don't see it being moved again. The question is, does Wicked Twister move? And I think that's the big question mark, because Tony Clark also said that they're going to connect the hotel beach to the front gate parking lot. So they're going to build an extra pathway along the side of that park, along Gatekeeper, along where Wicked Twister is right now, that will connect the front gate to that, so you can actually access it from both sides. It'll also help out because currently, if you're in Hotel Breakers, there is no way to get to the front gate without using a shuttle. You cannot walk to the front gate at all. There is currently no way to get there. So it will solve that problem as well, of hotel guests wanting to get to the front gate and maybe not wanting to take a shuttle. And, some people were, illegally walking along, the other side along Mean Streak and Maverick. This guy might have been one of them once or twice before I got picked up by the shuttle. The guy said, "Get on the shuttle, you jerk. You can't walk over here." He actually said that to me. So it also solves that problem. Taking out Oceania, taking out the stadium, has nothing to do with that pathway. Oceania is inside the park.
Right.
That pathway is going to have to be outside the park. Taking out the stadium has nothing to do with revitalizing that beach walkway. So there's nothing going on there. So this is something different. So if you take out Wicked Twister, I don't know if you have to. I think you might, because if you remember, once again, all the way back to when we were talking about California's Great America, we were talking about Kaga, there were rumors that Wicked Twister were going to go to Kaga at some point. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's off the table. I still think that rumor that we heard maybe a year and a half ago is still viable, that if they took out Wicked Twister, now you have more than enough room to build a wood coaster on the beach.
That's half of that entire place, because you know how long Wicked Twister is. And you wonder when they were talking about Rob Decker opening up the beach, does that mean taking out every bit of the kind of the eyesore blockage that you had on that side where you really couldn't? So it started with disaster transport. You took disaster transport, open it up, and put Gatekeeper there. But you can still see a great view of the beach there. You take out Wicked Twister, which really does, in a sense, take out, some of the beach view, because you've got that structure right there on the beach. Yeah. And then you take out, now you take out this Oceania, the stadium, which when you walk by, you can't see anything out through there. So now if you take out every single thing that was on the edge of the beach there and open it up and put one ride there, that would be a great addition, and really do what Decker and some of the CEOs and things wanted to do, which was, enhance the feeling of you being at the park, but also at the beach at the same time. And I think that's maybe a part of it, trying to get rid of all those eyesores that have been there for the past 50 years.
And some people have said, well, if you put a wood coaster there, then aren't you just going to close the view to the beach again? And I don't think that's the case at all. I think, a wood coaster, you see through it a lot. You're going to be able to experience it more. It's going to be a beautiful feature on the beach. You talk about skyline, that side of the park, when you go to the Lake Erie side of the park and you look at the skyline, there's not much there. You have the beautiful Ferris wheel, you have Windseeker. If you find a way to weave a wood coaster in between that, that's going to look fantastic. I don't care about, and I'll tell you what else, Dwayne. I personally, I've been going to Cedar Point a long time. And And I believe that disaster transport and the Oceania Stadium and all the other structures along the beach served a purpose, that it actually cut down the wind. I don't remember them having as many wind problems when I was growing up, that all you hear about now is rides going down for wind. And I think by them taking down disaster transport, I think it opened up a whole new wind tunnel throughout Cedar Point, that maybe, hopefully, this wood coaster might cut down that a little bit. That you know what, you love to have views of the beach, but I'll tell you, I hate when coasters go down for wind, and if this helps any little bit, I'll be happy. And I'll tell you what else, I'm going to love the view of the beach from the top of the lift hill of a GCI wooden coaster on the beach. That's going to be beautiful.
Well, and remember, TTD, or Top Thrill Dragster, was actually supposed to be over there on the side of the beach anyway, but they knew that with the wind, and that would be an issue. Yeah. We already know that the thing is in the middle of the stinking park, and it still has that issue. Yeah. And it's gotten worse, all right, since they've taken disaster transport down. Everybody, you can say that it hasn't, but you would be naive to say that. And so,
is that like a new wind tunnel opened up or something? Yeah, and that disaster transport was like blocking the wind from coming in off the lake too. Like, I just feel like something has happened there, and not a lot of people have talked about. I could be completely wrong about that. I don't know, but I know from past experience over the last few years, there's been a lot more wind closures and a lot more windy days at Cedar Point than I ever remember growing up.
Well, and I think too, if you think back to putting a wood coaster there. You do that, even if you take out Wicked Twister, you have with the Ferris wheel and maybe a wood coaster, and it almost feels like a boardwalk feel. The one thing that the park doesn't really have is that. Now, you think of some of the other parks where you might not have a boardwalk, but you have that boardwalk feel. Now you can make that area, that midway, more like a boardwalk feel. Maybe put over there some more food stands and things like that to make it have I don't want to say much like a carnival feel, but like a boardwalk feel to that, because you really don't have that inside that park. We always talk about kind of separating the park into 4 or 5 different territories, but you really don't have that. And I think that's what they try to do with that area. It just doesn't come out that way. And I think if they do something with this area, it could definitely be part of that.
Now, the other thing I want to say about the Sandcastle Suites, because that was the second half of this, and let me preface this by saying I do not support this idea. I am not in favor of this idea. I think it's nonsense that I'm talking about this idea. I don't even know if I had to put a percentage of this actually coming to pass, I'm going to put it at 5 to 10%. But I would be remiss to not speculate that what if the reason they're taking out Sandcastle Suites is, we know once again that the big anniversary 2020, the 2-year celebration that they're going to have for the 150th Cedar Point anniversary, we think records are going to be broken. We don't know if they're going to hit 20 coasters in 2020. I don't know. But what if they're trying to break a height record here? What if they're trying to make the tallest 400-foot coaster, or maybe even break 500 feet? Okay, let's think about places where we could actually put that, because that's been the speculation, that we're going to break a height record here for the anniversary. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let you in on a secret here. The best place to put it, the easiest place to put this ride, is to take out Magnum XL 200 and to put it there. And now with that expanded area out by Sandcastle Suites, you can have extra maneuvers over there. You have all that extra space. You have plenty of room to do this. Magnum already has a massive lift hill that's way too the angle of ascent on that is, not steep enough at all, not clear, And another point is, you also have a number of hypercoasters already in the park. Steel Vengeance hypercoaster, Valraven hypercoaster. You got Dragster, you got Millennium that are well above 200 feet. Wicked Twister is even above 200 feet. So you have all these rides already. So does Magnum still hold that special place? In my heart, it does. But Dwain, I'll tell you what, every time I walk off that ride, 75% of the people are bitching about how rough it is. And when I look back on Cedar Point history and I think about other rides that used to be bitched about to that level, I can name them for you. They were called Mantis and Mean Streak, and we see what's happened to both of those rides. And I don't know if Magnum is long for this world. I don't want to think about it. I'm not endorsing this idea. I don't like this idea. But I'm telling you, if you're going to build a 500-foot coaster, that's the place where it's going to go.
And you have to have that space if you're going to do something that tall, because you got to have the distance that comes after it, all right, to take care of the coaster. So, and again, we see what Magnum does, right? It goes out that far because of the descent that it has, and it's got to be able to use that speed somewhere. So you got to have the ability to have that. And you take out Sandcastle Suites and expand that area, you're going to have the extra room that you need for a big out and back coaster. And I'm telling you, it would be a B&M. They're going to do.
I see. Here's why I don't think it's going to be a B&M. Because if you look at Cedar Point Shores and you look at where the new slide complex is, you don't have a ton of space in between that slide complex and Magnum and then where the new parking lot is. There is space there. And I'm not sure, because B&M has the huge V-shaped supports up the lift hill. I'm not sure. It's going to be real damn close, because I actually researched the idea of possibly having Magnum stay. Could you have another coaster be put right next to it and have two coasters side by side and have the old and the new, the record breaker in 89 and the record breaker in 2020? Could you do something like that? I don't know. I'm not sure a B&M would fit because of the wide restraints in either case. I think in Intamin, because they have much, they have the towers that go straight up. If you think of Millennium Force, if you think of Mac, they have much the same towers. They're going to take up space.
Yeah.
They're not going to take as much as the B&M space is, which I don't know if that plays into anything. But I just have a tendency to think that I'm not so sure it's going to be a B&M.
Well, I only said that because of what we did with Fury 3, because that kind of layout would be something similar to what they would have to do there. Now, would I much rather see something like the Mac that's, obviously not a spinning type coaster that we're seeing out here at Silver Dollar City, but obviously things what we've seen overseas. Would I like to see that come in here? Yes, and Cedar Point would obviously be the best choice for that. That would be my choice, hands down. But if I were going just based on, what I think they're going to do based on what we've seen around this area before, that's why I said that. Now,
could you imagine a side-by-side coaster, though, if you get to keep Magnum and have this new record breaker? I don't know if we've ever seen anything like that besides like your typical racer. I'm sure we've seen it somewhere in Europe where they really overlay a lot of their coasters because of landlockedness. But I think it might be pretty cool to honor the past and look towards the future right next to each other. I don't know. Like I said, 5% chance. 5% chance. I really think it's going to be an expansion of Lighthouse Point. We met Love's Hotels. I could see a high-end hotel, high-end cabins, something a lot bigger. I don't see an expansion of what's already there. I think something that's going to cost more money is going to go back there. That's prime real estate. You're right on the lake.
Yeah, right.
It's a beautiful view out there. That pool at Sandcastle Suites had a view that was $1 million, and nobody was taking advantage of it because because Sandcastle was so far behind of all the hotels. But you know what? If I had to put the wood coaster on the beach, I think we're well over a 75% chance on that. People keep saying the Shoot the Rapid spot, that's where the wood coaster is going to go. They moved Ripcord there for a reason. That I don't think. I think you could shoehorn something in back there. I don't think you want to, unless you're going to take out Mine Ride or you're going to take out Snake River Falls.
Please do. Please take out the Mine Ride. Please.
I've heard. Well, you didn't ride Mystic Mine Ride, which may be one of the greatest. It might be the best new ride of 2017. I don't know. Mystic Mine Ride was up there on my list of best new rides. I have heard that Snake River Falls might be coming out, and when I heard that, I kind of thought Aqua Tracks. And there's a whole conspiracy theory with that I can get into later on too. But sticking to this, I really feel the wood coaster on the beach is the way to go. There's that slight chance of the 500-foot coaster, down the line, maybe. But the wood coaster on the beach, it almost has to happen. That's what Cedar Point needs. It's what they need, and that's why I go to that.
I have so many wishes, like a wish list of things you want to see happen, and then when it doesn't happen, you just kind of like, oh, okay, that didn't happen. Yeah. Check it off. And so you've got that area back there too, with where Shoot the Rapids was. You wonder what's going in there, but then again, you put that back there and say, well, we're just going to keep that area the way it is.
Yeah.
And then do they take out the swing thing that's back there and open that up and put something big back there. You could do that. You could move all that stuff around. But I think, like you said, I think it's what we're going to see. I think this taking out of the stadium is far more a bombshell than the Sandcastle Suites.
Yeah,
I really do. And it might not seem that way on paper, but I think that's the way we really should be looking at it.
And I've heard the Sandcastle Suites earlier this season, you know, through the grapevine. I heard that it could be closing. I've not heard anyone say anything about the stadium all this year. So that's where that came out of nowhere. And that's been priority number one for me. And I said, once that hat falls, once that card comes off the board, that means that big things are happening. And now we have that officially coming out. I think, Dwayne, big things are happening. Yeah. And I think we're going to be really excited about a major I'm thinking GCI, something like Gold Striker, something major. Like, it can't be like Mystic Timbers because they already have Mystic Timbers.
Right.
It's going to be something big. It's going to be something like a Gold Striker that I think is going to be really spectacular and a lot of fun to ride. So, as always, thank you for joining us here on COASTER.net Update. We are back with some big news, and hopefully we'll get some even bigger news as IAAPA is right around the corner here. Yeah. So hopefully we'll be updating you a lot more over the offseason. As always, I am Andy Robarczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Dwayne Sponseller from Parkersburg, West Virginia. And as always, may the Q lines be ever in your favor.
Right on, Ride Warriors.